Every year, more than 160 million tons of seafood are consumed worldwide, the planet's largest source of protein. But behind that staggering number lies a harsh journey. Over 60 million fishermen battle rough seas and strong winds day and night, risking their safety to bring sustenance to billions. Don't miss out. We'll take you on some of the most spectacular harvests at sea, where technology and humanity unite to create millions of victories across the ocean. With a muscular body, a swimming speed of 70 kilometers per hour, and a weight of up to 400 kilograms, the bluefin tuna ranks among the most formidable predators in the ocean. Fishermen rely on two of the most common natural hunting methods, harpooning and handline fishing, each demanding strength, precision, and masterful experience. In harpooning, the fisherman stands at the bow, watching for tuna surfacing near the water. At the right moment, he launches a specialized harpoon with an explosive tip that pierces the thick flesh and locks firmly into the fish's body. The catch is then hauled aboard with ropes or a hydraulic winch. Every throw must be decisive, a split second off, and the fish vanishes into the deep. This traditional selective technique minimizes bycatch and requires sharp eyes, quick reflexes, and immense arm strength. For many seasoned fishermen, it's more than a job, it's an art form, a battle of wits between man and one of the ocean's greatest hunters. Meanwhile, handline fishing is the more common approach. Fishermen use high-tensile carbon rods, PE lines, rated at 200 pounds, and reels with 80 kilograms of drag, tools built specifically to withstand the power of this mighty fish. When a fish bites, the angler bends the rod with full force, maintaining about 70 kilograms of line tension, strong enough to control but not to break. The rhythm of pull, release, hold repeats endlessly until the fish is worn down. Finally, even an exhausted tuna weighing hundreds of kilos still takes 2 or 3 people working together to haul it aboard. Once on deck, it is immediately chilled with ice or super-cooled seawater to preserve its omega-3s, proteins, and natural myoglobin, the key to the fresh flavor and perfect crimson hue of sashimi. Today, bluefin tuna prices have risen by 25% in just 2 years, and each premium catch can fetch up to USD $30,000. A worthy reward for human strength and determination against the power of the sea. When the herring season begins around March to April each year, fleets of vessels from Alaska's major ports head out to the rich fishing grounds, where hundreds of tons of herring gather into massive shimmering schools. Herring are known for swimming in dense, synchronized formations, the perfect condition for fishermen to deploy purse seine nets, stretching for kilometers, woven from high-tensile nylon and buoyed by floats, capable of enclosing an entire school within minutes. As the net closes, the fish move instinctively, pressing together toward the center in one unified motion. At the signal, the hydraulic winch system roars to life, hauling the massive ton-heavy net up onto the deck. The herring are funneled together, sliding up the hull under water pressure and the pull of the drum, a living river of silver. Moments later, powerful suction pumps are activated, drawing thousands of fish continuously into refrigerated storage tanks. There, the processing begins immediately. Fishermen collect female herring roe, then send it straight down deep freezing conveyors below 0 degrees, preserving the fragile nutrients that would otherwise degrade at normal temperatures. On a good day, each vessel can haul in around 200 tons of herring in just a few hours, worth up to $1 million per trip. At the height of the season, that figure can double. helping Alaska's fleets generate hundreds of millions of dollars annually. A colossal pillar of the U.S. fishing industry and the global seafood supply chain. Across the Caribbean Sea, the world's largest lobster harvesting region, more than 1 million lobster traps are deployed each year. At depths reaching 40 meters, the traps are arranged in a precise network. Each trap holds a plastic bait cage filled with chopped fish or squid. The slow diffusion of scent lures lobsters inside, trapping them in narrow chambers with one-way entrances. Everything is secured with salt-resistant polypropylene ropes, connected to GPS-marked buoys, so that vessels can return to the exact location after 24 to 36 hours. When it's time to haul them up, crews work swiftly, sorting the catch, releasing undersized lobsters and females carrying eggs, strictly adhering to sustainable fishing regulations. The lobsters that meet the standards are immediately chilled in circulating seawater tanks, keeping a 98% survival rate. The key secret behind Caribbean spiny lobsters. Premium status, fetching 3 times the price of those caught and frozen by conventional methods. While lobster traps yield large harvests, they cause significant damage to coral reefs, where metal frames and anchor lines can break coral branches, stir up sediment, and destroy the nurseries of young lobsters. That's why in the Florida Keys, fishermen turn to a different method: manual diving, an ocean-friendly approach that relies entirely on human skill and endurance instead of machinery. Divers descend to depths of 15 to 25 meters, searching for Florida spiny lobsters hiding deep within coral crevices. Armed with a tickle stick, a slender metal rod with a gently curved tip, they carefully nudge the lobster from behind, coaxing it out of its den without breaking its antennae or scratching its shell. Each movement demands perfect reflexes and thousands of hours of training. One mistake in the crushing pressure of the deep can mean disaster. Though laborious and less productive, hand diving yields the finest catch, lobsters uninjured, unstressed, their flesh firm, sweet, and brimming with the taste of the sea, as if freshly born from the ocean itself. Millions of polyethylene mesh cages stretch beneath the ocean surface at depths of 30 meters, nurturing hundreds of thousands of Tahitian black pearls, the most precious of all marine gems. Each oyster, with a hand-implanted nucleus of mother-of-pearl, hangs in anti-fouling baskets tethered to floating lines, absorbing mineral-rich currents that build a thick, lustrous nacre layer over nearly 2 years. At harvest time, divers descend along the rows of cages, unfastening anchors and hauling the heavy oyster clusters, each weighing dozens of kilograms, to the boats by hand. The oysters are then cleaned meticulously, scraping away algae and barnacles to prevent impurities from marring the pearl's quality. Each shell is secured with a stainless steel clamp, its mouth opened just 1 or 2 centimeters, enough for a skilled technician to reach in with precision tools, separate the tissue, and extract the pearl nestled deep within without cracking the nacre. Of the thousands harvested, only around 3% achieve perfect roundness and luster worthy of fine jewelry. The rest find new life in art, decor, cosmetics, and pharmaceuticals, every pearl a fragment of the ocean's quiet perfection. From December to June, hundreds of pyramid-shaped iron traps are set along muddy waterways, turning thousands of hectares of Louisiana rice fields into the largest crawfish harvesting grounds in the world. The golden key to maintaining productivity and speed lies in specialized motorized boats, equipped with 20-horsepower gasoline engines and hydraulic paddle wheels that glide steadily across the flooded fields. Their powerful thrust lets fishermen move smoothly through the thick mud, working efficiently between trap rows and streamlining every step of the crawfish harvest. Workers lift each heavy trap, pour the wriggling crawfish onto steel sorting tables, reload bait made from grain and protein powder, and drop the trap back into the water. This process can repeat up to 1,200 times in a single morning, demanding remarkable endurance to sustain the relentless pace for hours on end. Once sorted, the crawfish are packed into mesh sacks, stacked into truck beds, and shipped out. The entire system runs like an open-air production line, perfectly synchronized between manual labor and mechanization. Each year, about 70,000 tons of crawfish are harvested, generating over $300 million for the state of Louisiana, the swampy heartland that has become a true symbol of America's seafood industry. In central China, conservation teams are racing against time to save the giant salamander, the largest amphibian on Earth, a relic species that has survived since the Jurassic era. In the cool, damp mountain streams at night, researchers carefully use soft mesh nets to capture the animals without harming their mucus-covered skin, a delicate external lung that absorbs oxygen directly from the water, yet is so fragile that even a light touch can be fatal. Once brought to the surface, each salamander is measured, tagged with an ID chip, and released exactly where it was found, the only way to monitor its genetics and population density without disturbing the ecosystem. As a top predator in mountain streams, the giant salamander plays a crucial role in maintaining ecological balance by controlling populations of small fish and insects. If it disappears, microbial levels in the water could rise by up to 40%, turning once clear streams into murky, lifeless channels within just a few rainy seasons. Salamander meat is considered a rare delicacy in some regions of China, known for its tender texture, mild sweetness, and fish-like richness, packed with collagen, protein, and natural amino acids. However, as the species faces critical endangerment, consumption has been completely banned. Instead, efforts now focus on studying its nutritional and medicinal value under controlled conservation breeding. In Japan, unagi eels are mainly raised in cement or composite tanks with recirculating water systems, where temperature, oxygen, and pH are carefully controlled to mimic natural river conditions. When the eels reach 250 to 300 grams, around 8 months old, farmers begin the harvesting process. The procedure starts by lowering the water level in the tanks, leaving only a shallow layer about 10 to 15 centimeters deep. As the eels gather near the bottom, a low-pressure suction hose is activated. Water from the tank is drawn into the hose, creating a gentle vortex that carries the eels upward without causing injury. At the outlet, a centrifugal separator filters the water back into the tank, while the eels are guided through a closed transfer pipe directly into an intermediate holding tank with circulating cold water. Here, the eels are kept alive and naturally cleansed, allowing them to purge mud and waste before being sent to the processing area. The entire operation runs in a continuous, near-closed cycle, reflecting the precision and automation that define Japan's advanced eel farming technology. Jellyfish, soft-bodied creatures famed for their ethereal beauty, are also considered a delicacy in certain regions. Among the more than 2,000 jellyfish species worldwide, only about 10% are edible, with cannonball jellyfish and Asian white jellyfish being the most commonly consumed. Every November, in the waters off Georgia, USA, the cannonball jellyfish harvest reaches its peak. Large, high-powered vessels set out to sea, deploying enormous bottom-dragging nets stretching hundreds of meters to collect tons of jellyfish per haul. The physically demanding task of hauling nets has now been replaced by high-capacity hydraulic winches, which lift the catch directly onto conveyor belts leading straight to the onboard processing area. After harvesting, jellyfish are usually washed, separated, and salted immediately to preserve quality before export. Meanwhile, in parts of Asia, the giant white jellyfish, with a diameter of nearly half a meter and weighing up to 20 kilograms each, are most sought after during the spring and summer seasons. Here, trawl nets are preferred for their flexibility and efficiency in shallow coastal waters. Once a net is filled with jellyfish, fishermen use long-handled scoops to lift each individual gently onto bamboo rafts. Unlike the Western industrial process, Asian fishermen maintain traditional methods. Jellyfish are processed immediately on shore, covered with sand and rubbed thoroughly to remove the thick slime layer, then sliced into thin strips or pieces before being sent to further processing facilities. Each harvest season brings in thousands of tons of fresh jellyfish, providing a significant source of income for coastal communities. In China, where turtles are regarded as symbols of longevity, they are also a valuable source of food and medicinal ingredients, raised on commercial farms with closed-cycle systems and a lifespan of just 12 to 18 months. To harvest them, farmers wade into muddy ponds, where turtles often bury themselves deeply to rest. Every action is performed slowly and carefully to avoid shocking the turtles or muddying the water. When a turtle is spotted, it is gently lifted by hand or with a long-handled net, taking care not to scratch the shell or break any limbs. Larger individuals usually lie deeper, requiring endurance and patience as farmers dig through layers of fine mud by hand with skillful yet decisive movements. After each capture, turtles are washed and placed in water-filled mesh cages to reduce stress before transport. Every year, tens of thousands of farms in China produce over 300 million commercial turtles, serving domestic consumption and medicinal use, as well as exports to Japan, South Korea, and Southeast Asia, creating a multi-billion-dollar aquaculture industry. On floating farms along the western Atlantic coast, farmers enter oyster harvest season. These small bivalves generate hundreds of millions of dollars in economic value each year. Unlike fish or shrimp, harvesting oysters requires patience, biological knowledge, and precise timing. Each farm must wait 18 to 36 months before harvest, depending on the species and the salinity of the waters. The harvesting method varies by farming model. In floating systems, rack and bag, oysters are raised in mesh bags suspended on racks, each containing 50 to 100 oysters, swaying in nutrient-rich currents. When ready, workers use hydraulic pulleys to lift the bags onto the boat, a swift and decisive operation that preserves freshness and keeps the shells intact. In bottom or wild harvest systems, fishermen use dredges dragged along the seabed to gather oysters. This method yields larger quantities but requires high skill, as even a small mistake can crack shells or mix in mud and sand, affecting quality. Oysters are extremely sensitive to temperature shocks and impacts, so from the moment they are lifted to the initial processing stage, every factor, time, temperature, and humidity, is strictly controlled. Upon reaching port, the oysters still hold droplets of seawater in their shells, carrying the ocean's breath and preserving their freshness and characteristic briny flavor, the very essence of the sea encapsulated in each rugged shell. Mahi-mahi, also known as dolphin fish, is a tropical species renowned for its shimmering blue-gold scales and incredible swimming speed of up to 90 kilometers per hour, ranking among the 10 fastest fish in the world and a prized catch for sport anglers in tropical waters. For professional fishermen, landing a large mahi-mahi is a once-in-a-lifetime triumph, with a success rate of only about 10 to 15%. In the United States, most are caught using the trolling technique, dragging bait at high speed along the water's surface, a method that demands agility, quick reflexes, and endurance. When a fish strikes, the impact can bend the rod and snap the line, forcing the angler to maintain balance and reel continuously in a fierce contest of strength and precision. Beyond sport fishing, mahi-mahi is also harvested commercially, with an annual yield of around 100,000 tons across Hawaii, the Caribbean, and the Pacific Ocean. Its firm, lean white meat, rich in protein, makes it a premium delicacy, generating hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue for the tropical seafood industry. Carp, a notorious invasive species despised in the United States, is conversely a highly valued and widely consumed food fish across many Asian countries, particularly in China and Vietnam. Here, carp are raised in earthen ponds, artificial lakes, or flooded rice fields, where natural water resources are utilized to the fullest. Unlike the massive trawlers used in offshore fisheries, carp farming relies on simple tools such as hand nets, lift nets, or stationary traps, traditional yet effective methods suited to lowland terrain and small-scale family operations. During harvest season, ponds are carefully drained in a controlled manner, and tons of carp are manually scooped up with sweep nets, then quickly transferred into aerated cold water tanks to keep them alive and fresh. The process is fast, precise, and requires seamless coordination among dozens of workers. Each year, China produces over 17 million tons of carp, most of which supplies the domestic market, while the rest is exported to neighboring Asian countries such as Vietnam, Indonesia, and Bangladesh. The sea cucumber harvest season takes place from late spring to early autumn, mainly in the waters of Japan, the Korean Peninsula, and China's coastal regions, when tides, temperature, and ocean currents align to create ideal conditions. Beneath the deep blue waters, the glow of dive lights and sonar beams sweep across the sandy seabed, searching for the soft, flexible bodies of sea cucumbers hidden within fine sediments. In the past, this trade relied entirely on divers. Today, however, industrial-scale operations demand greater speed and efficiency, and specialized bottom trawl nets have become the optimal solution. Large vessels equipped with GPS and high-precision sonar continuously scan the ocean floor to locate dense clusters of sea cucumbers. Once the golden zone appears on the screen, the trawl nets are deployed. Their mesh size carefully adjusted to capture sea cucumbers while avoiding damage to coral and other marine life. The nets glide gently along the seabed, stirring up a thin layer of sand and sweeping the sea cucumbers into the holding chamber like a stream of moving sand. When the nets are hauled up, hundreds of kilograms of fresh sea cucumbers slide down seawater, rinsing troughs, cleaned, and immediately transferred into ice boxes or recirculating cold storage systems. Fast, precise, and efficient, this process allows fishermen to harvest tons of sea cucumbers within just a few hours, marking the dawn of industrialization for the so-called ginseng of the sea. This massive deep-sea trawl net is the ultimate tool for fishermen in the North Atlantic, aiding them in their quest to capture fish species that dwell hundreds of meters beneath the ocean's surface, most notably deep-sea redfish. With an opening span that can reach over 150 meters, the trawl acts like a steel arm sweeping across the seabed and gathering entire schools of fish hidden in the pitch-black depths. When full, the colossal net can hold more than 100 tons of fish, requiring a high-powered hydraulic winch system to haul it aboard amid the rough waves of the North Atlantic. As the net is opened on deck, streams of redfish cascade into the vessel's deep-chilled storage compartments, where processing begins immediately to preserve maximum freshness. Each year, over 100,000 tons of redfish are harvested from the North Atlantic, generating hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, helping the region maintain its reputation as the world's largest hub for deep-sea fishing. The Chesapeake Bay in Maryland, USA, is the capital of the premium blue crab, famed for its sweet, firm, white meat and delicate flavor, fetching prices 3 to 5 times higher than ordinary crabs. The steel cage trap remains the only and most efficient method for harvesting this prized species. Each morning, when crabs are most active and the tides are favorable, fishermen bait the traps with small fish and deploy hundreds of cages along tidal channels, marking each location with floating buoys. Accurate marking is essential, as even a slight mistake could cause traps to drift away or disappear completely beneath the water. After a few hours, they return to haul in the catch, lifting each trap onto the deck. Each cage typically holds up to 15 mature blue crabs, depending on the season and population density. With hundreds of traps retrieved in succession, each trip yields hundreds of kilograms of live, fresh crabs. Highly efficient, easy to operate, and environmentally friendly, trap fishing has remained the primary method for Chesapeake Bay fishermen for decades. In November, the Bering Sea comes alive with fleets of sturdy fishing vessels cutting through icy waves in pursuit of migrating schools of fat, glistening cod. Long lines stretching 30 to 50 kilometers are dropped deep into the seabed, each carrying thousands of hooks baited with fresh fish. After several hours, or sometimes half a day, the lines are hauled back up through mist and frost, heavy with gleaming, freshly caught cod. Developed in the early 20th century, this fishing method remains common in Norway, Alaska, and Russia. It stands out for its selectivity, maintaining excellent fish quality while minimizing bycatch and environmental impact. However, its low efficiency and the sea's brutal conditions make longline fishing unsuitable for large-scale industrial operations. That's why bottom trawling has become the main weapon of modern fishing fleets. Massive trawl nets sweep across the cold seabed, capturing tens of tons of cod in each haul from the frozen depths. Once the nets are filled with their silvery bounty, gone are the days of back-breaking manual hauling. Today, hydraulic winches, heavy-duty pulleys, and automated net drum systems act as the fishermen's iron allies, lifting tons of fish from the sea with precision, saving time and labor, and greatly improving both productivity and safety at sea. Harvesting sea urchins by hand diving may sound simple, but in reality, it's a job that demands strength, skill, and absolute precision. Divers equipped with masks, snorkels, anti-spike gloves, and a curved iron hook, their only tool between them and the spiny creatures clinging to the seabed, 5 to 10 meters below, must work with utmost care. A single wrong move can crack the shell, ruin the roe, or cause the diver to be painfully pricked by the sharp spines. Each urchin is gently pried loose, placed into a mesh bag tied to the diver's waist, and brought up to the boat in small batches. A skilled diver can harvest anywhere from 100 to 300 sea urchins a day, depending on the region and population density. These divers are more than just fishermen. They're underwater ecologists, selecting only mature urchins while avoiding the young ones to preserve the natural balance of marine life. Another highly effective method is bottom net harvesting, a technique quite different from traditional fishing nets. Instead of maximizing speed or net spread, Bottom nets for sea urchins are designed with smaller mesh, flexible frames, and excellent seabed contact, helping to maintain the urchin's shape during collection. The nets are either fixed in place or slowly towed behind a vessel. As they pass over the seabed, sea urchins are gently swept inside by the movement of water and the light pulling force of the boat. This method allows for large-scale harvesting in a short amount of time, making it suitable for industrial operations. However, it also comes with drawbacks: higher damage rates, as the urchins can be bruised, crushed, or mixed with seaweed and debris, directly affecting the quality of their precious roe inside. In November, the Bering Sea comes alive with fleets of sturdy fishing vessels cutting through icy waves in pursuit of migrating schools of fat, glistening cod. Long lines stretching 30 to 50 kilometers are dropped deep into the seabed, each carrying thousands of hooks baited with fresh fish. After several hours, or sometimes half a day, the lines are hauled back up through mist and frost, heavy with gleaming, freshly caught cod. Developed in the early 20th century, this fishing method remains common in Norway, Alaska, and Russia. It stands out for its selectivity, maintaining excellent fish quality while minimizing bycatch and environmental impact. However, its low efficiency and the sea's brutal conditions make longline fishing unsuitable for large-scale industrial operations. That's why bottom trawling has become the main weapon of modern fishing fleets. Massive trawl nets sweep across the cold seabed, capturing tens of tons of cod in each haul from the frozen depths. Once the nets are filled with their silvery bounty, gone are the days of back-breaking manual hauling. Today, hydraulic winches, heavy-duty pulleys, and automated net drum systems act as the fishermen's iron allies, lifting tons of fish from the sea with precision, saving time and labor, and greatly improving both productivity and safety at sea. Have you ever seen a flying fish? If that question sparks your curiosity, head to the southern seas of Japan and Taiwan between May and July, where millions of flying fish, with wing-like fins shimmering like blades of blue steel, leap from the water and glide through the air, turning the impossible into reality. But how exactly are these fish that fly harvested? Today, with the help of radar and sonar navigation systems, locating schools of flying fish has become more precise than ever. Fishermen deploy specialized purse seine nets, lightweight, evenly buoyed, and with mesh just small enough to hold the fish without tearing their delicate fins or scales. Once released, the net unfurls into a massive arc, a soft trap stretching across the open sea, ready to close when the school swims inside. As the soft trap begins to tighten, the calm surface of the sea suddenly erupts with life. Beneath the clear blue water, thousands of flying fish shimmer and thrash, their silver bodies flashing in the sunlight. They don't take flight this time. They twist and struggle in silence, creating a scene both fierce and breathtakingly beautiful. On deck, the roar of hydraulic winches fills the air as the crew works in perfect rhythm, hauling in meters of heavy, silver-laden net. When the bulging net finally rises above the waves, tons of flying fish spill onto the deck, glinting like liquid silver under the sun. In a single haul, 3 tons of fish, the hard-earned reward of a day spent conquering the ocean. This longline system, stretching for tens of kilometers, is on a mission to conquer the silver assassins of the sea, the mighty swordfish of the Pacific and North Atlantic Oceans, famed for their lightning speed, explosive power, and relentless fighting spirit. Thousands of baited hooks are suspended along the water's surface, precisely balanced between floats and weights, forming an immense hunting network, cast exactly where these gleaming predators prowl the deep blue. Once the setup is complete, the line is left to drift overnight in the open sea. Each strike from a swordfish sends the lines snapping tight and the buoys jerking violently, the signal for the crew to spring into action. Hydraulic winches roar to life, reeling in meters of line with the screech of steel on steel. The hooked swordfish thrashes wildly, leaping from the water, sometimes charging straight toward the boat. Every powerful lash of its blade-like bill poses real danger, demanding endurance, skill, and perfect coordination from the crew to bring it under control. In places like Hawaii, Florida, and the Caribbean, the pursuit of giant swordfish has even evolved into a prestigious ocean sport, drawing thousands of professional anglers from around the world, where the clash between human and silver warrior becomes a test of mastery, courage, and the spirit of the sea itself. Massive purse-seine nets with radii stretching for kilometers are set up in the Barents Sea every October to intercept migrating schools of capelin, numbering in the hundreds of millions. Designed to capture schooling migratory fish such as capelin, herring, and sardines, purse-seine nets have never disappointed Arctic fishermen thanks to their precision and near-perfect efficiency. Within minutes, the entire school is enclosed in the net and gradually hauled toward the ship's side by a hydraulic winch system. The highlight of modern fishing technology is the high-pressure vacuum pump, the heart of the vessel. Without having to lift the net onto the deck, the fish are sucked directly from the net through steel pipes, rushing like a silver waterfall into refrigerated holds. Dozens of tons of fresh capelin are pumped aboard at a rate of over 100 tons per hour, streaming through the pipes like a silver flood straight into the deep freeze compartments. By applying advanced automated fishing equipment, Norwegian fishermen harvest over 300,000 tons of capelin annually, which are processed into roe, oil, and fish meal, valuable food and raw materials of the North Atlantic. Catfish, an omnivorous species that thrives in mud and organic waste, has become a money-printing machine for the global aquaculture industry. In the United States, especially in the Mississippi Delta, where catfish farming generates more than $4 billion annually, the harvesting process begins with the deployment of ultra-durable nylon seine nets with mesh sizes of 3 to 4 centimeters. The nets are gradually closed into smaller circles to herd the fish toward a central gathering area. On the water surface, motorboats and divers work in sync to create gentle currents that drive the fish into the net pocket, the final concentration point where tons of catfish thrash violently, making the water churn like shattered bronze. Once the fish are concentrated, industrial cranes lower giant mesh baskets to scoop up each load weighing hundreds of kilograms. Water drains quickly through the mesh, reducing lifting weight and minimizing suffocation. The catfish, firm-bodied, with silvery gray skin and bright white bellies, the hallmarks of Grade 1 quality, are then ready for transport to the processing plant. Immediately afterward, the fish are placed into oxygenated tanker trucks with recirculating pumps, maintaining a density of 150 to 200 kilograms per cubic meter. The entire process, from net deployment to the tanker leaving the pond, takes less than 2 hours, ensuring the fish remain healthy, firm-fleshed, and retain their full commercial value before entering the processing stage. Octopus hunting, though practiced in many ways, has never been an easy trade. In Japan and along the Chinese coast, fishermen still capture these agile masters of disguise using an ancient method, a simple fishing rod with a sharp hook, no bait, no trap. When an octopus surfaces, they immediately strike it with an iron gaff and haul it straight onto the deck, because even a moment's delay could let it slip off the hook and vanish beneath the waves. It sounds simple, but it's a duel of reflexes, strength, and experience. A mature octopus can weigh 10 to 12 kilograms, its slick, writhing body making it a test of skill to hold. A true art of survival between human and sea's ultimate camouflage artist. In the Mediterranean, the traditional set net fishing method has been practiced for over 3 centuries. At night, hundreds of meters of nets are laid along rocky reefs, silently waiting for octopuses to wander into the mesh while hunting. The yield is modest. Sometimes hundreds of meters of net bring in only a few catches, but the reward is quality. Net-caught octopuses are always alive, firm-fleshed, and preserve their natural sweetness. Though quiet and unmechanized, the Mediterranean octopus fishery endures, supplying more than 40,000 tons annually to European and Asian markets. Beyond the numbers, it stands as a symbol of craftsmanship and reverence for the sea, where humans continue to converse with the ocean through their hands, their experience, and faith passed down through generations. Imagine standing in the midst of endless coastal mudflats, where salty silt hides the life of millions of tiny creatures. Welcome to China, where blood cockles are not just food, but a symbol of an age-old fishing tradition. Each year, the country harvests over 300,000 tons of blood cockles, accounting for nearly half of the world's supply, dominating the market from domestic consumption to exports, leaving every competitor far behind. Compared to white clams, easy to find but bland in taste, blood cockles stand out with triple the iron content and a briny, rich flavor that few shellfish can match. Simply steam them with a few slices of fresh lemongrass and fiery chili, and they instantly turn any seafood spread into a full-blown feast, where the sweet, buttery taste lingers from the very first bite. Few realize that behind the dark shell and intense salty flavor of the blood cockle lies the perfect breeding ground for bacteria, where the seawater trapped inside can harbor hepatitis viruses or deadly Vibrio bacteria. Just one careless moment of eating them raw can come at a heavy price. Don't let their fresh allure deceive you. Blood cockles are only safe when properly handled. This delicacy can bring joy or become a danger. Yet behind these strict warnings lies a story of resilience, where every blood cockle must grow to maturity amid mud, tides, and the ever-shifting forces of nature before entering a fully closed-loop harvest and processing cycle. The season usually runs from November to March, when the cockles reach peak plumpness, firm texture, and highest market value. Unlike white clams or scallops, often harvested en masse with high-powered suction dredgers or large-scale trawlers, blood cockles remain loyal to a fully manual harvest. When the tide recedes to its lowest point, a narrow golden window of just 2 to 3 hours each day, hundreds of workers spread out across the mudflats, bending low, raking and probing, or using long-handled steel hooks with 10 to 12 prongs to comb through layers of silt in search of shells buried 5 to 10 centimeters deep. In some places, tools are set aside altogether, and bare hands feel their way through the thick, heavy mud, detecting the slightest movement beneath. No roar of engines, no large boats closing in, only the soft shuffle of mud, the whisper of the sea breeze, and the steady rhythm of human footsteps merging with the tides. Each haul of cockles is not the product of speed or production pressure, but the result of patience, sharp eyes, and mud-stained hands, a slow yet enduring labor that ultimately yields the drops of red gold from the brackish waters. If manual harvesting is a quiet conversation between humans and the tide, then modern trawl net harvesting is the roar of an industrial machine unleashed upon the open sea. On towering steel-hulled vessels, the entire blood cockle harvest runs like a compact production line. Heavy nets are dropped deep into the muddy seabed, plowing long furrows and scooping up swaths of cockles before being hoisted aboard by hydraulic cranes. Just minutes later, hundreds of kilograms of shellfish are poured into the hold, then immediately sent through onboard washing, sorting, and packing systems. Compared to wading through mud and collecting each cockle by hand at low tide, trawling can boost productivity by 5 to 10 times, reaching 5 to 8 tons per day. But such speed comes at the cost of heavy investment and the risk of disturbing the seabed, something traditional farming grounds still strive to preserve. On deck, freshly hauled cockles remain tightly closed, glistening with seawater. They are placed into breathable mesh sacks and rinsed briefly with high-pressure hoses or vibrating troughs filled with clean seawater, washing away the mud clinging to their shells while keeping them alive. From there, each sack leaves the vessel, either bound for coastal processing plants or heading straight to seafood markets, where they are sold within hours, still carrying the briny freshness of the ocean they came from. From the port, the sacks of cockles are swiftly transported straight into the processing plant, where a rigorous cleaning process begins, preparing them for the next stage of production. Cleaning blood cockles is a task that demands meticulous attention to detail. Unlike clams or mussels that lie close to the mud's surface, blood cockles bury themselves 5 to 10 centimeters deep, their dark shells lined with coarse ridges that trap mud, sand, and microorganisms. Even after being rinsed at sea, they must still undergo 2 to 3 cleaning stages in the plant. High-pressure spray conveyor belts, continuously rotating shell scrubbing machines, and recirculating settling tanks filled with filtered seawater. A single lapse in this process could allow the water trapped inside the shells to become a breeding ground for bacteria. That's why, in modern facilities, automated sensors constantly monitor temperature, cleanliness, and processing time, ensuring that by the time they leave the line, each cockle is clean from its rugged shell to the sweet flesh within. Only after passing through strict cleaning and inspection stages are the blood cockles moved into the steaming chamber, where every second and every degree of heat is monitored by automatic sensors. Amid the billowing white steam of the industrial line, thousands of live cockles are cooked inside a sealed heating chamber, kept steadily at 100 to 110 degrees. After leaving the steaming chamber, the piping hot blood cockles are fed into an automatic shelling machine, where the heat helps the shells pop open for the soft rollers and sensors to work quickly, keeping the meat intact. With a capacity of up to 1 ton per hour, the process is far cleaner and faster than manual shelling. The mixture after shelling is sent into a spiral separator, where water washes away mud and light shell fragments, while the heavier meat sinks to the bottom and continues to the next stage. Once the shells are removed, the cockle meat still contains impurities, from broken shell pieces to the dark-colored innards that can cause odor. For this reason, all of it is sent into a long water trough, where a constant, powerful flow washes away grains of sand, tiny shell fragments, and even slime lodged in the folds of the meat. The water pressure is carefully calibrated, strong enough to clean thoroughly without breaking the meat. This is not just rinsing, it is a filtration of purity. In each 500 to 700 kilograms batch, even a few percent of unremoved innards can lead to the entire shipment being rejected when exported to markets like Japan or Norway. Although machines handle almost all the cleaning, the next step still requires the human eye, precise, flexible, and impossible to program. Along the moving conveyor, Each worker has only a few seconds to spot and remove broken pieces, abnormally small meat, or those turned brown from overheating. Immediately after sorting, the blood cockle meat is either dried at 60 to 70 degrees Celsius or flash frozen at -40 degrees Celsius in under 30 minutes. Both methods are designed to lock in freshness, preserve the signature red color, and prevent protein oxidation, the cause of off flavors and blackening. Drying caters to Asian markets that prefer a chewier texture, while freezing is the gold standard for exports to Europe. Whichever method is used, this is the step that seals in value, capturing the flavor at its peak, right after leaving the ocean. After drying or freezing, blood cockles are packed in a sterile environment, either vacuum sealed or placed in airtight packaging. Depending on market demand, they are sorted into various sizes and types, from small retail packs to large cartons for restaurants and export.